to the Money Mentors Podcast.
And here on Money Mentors, we're continuing our summer savings series this week on the show with a focus on fees this week, because whether you're buying, concert tickets from Ticketmaster to airline fares to what our streaming services cost us every month, I know it seems like fees have been making a lot of headlines in a number of industries lately, yet when I think about it, most of these fees are coming in at, say, $100 or less. But when we're talking about what you talk about all the time, investment fees or even 401k fees, you say that can add up to a lot more over time. So the question is, what can we do about it? How can we save here?
I think number one, we need to understand what we're paying. And that's a part of our process when we meet for the first time and we come into that second appointment to go over all of the audits and recommendations and income reports. One of the big pieces we're going to focus on is a fee analysis, right? How's your portfolio been performing against the benchmark, over the last 3 months, 3 years, 5, and so on. But what are you paying for that? And then besides that, that's the disclosed fees, right? So what are we paying our advisor that maybe doesn't show up on a Morningstar report, for example? So I think first and foremost, we need to understand what our fees are, but it can add up and it can add up quick. So let's just do a really quick exercise. So Rick and Tracy come through the door. They have $1 million that they're investing. We run a Morningstar report and a fee analysis, and they're paying 2% fees. How much in dollars is that?
$20,000.
Okay. What if they were to pay just 1.5%?
15?
$15,000, right? So that's $5,000 for 1 year.
Wow.
Right? And we're in retirement for, let's say, 20 years.
Yeah.
So times that 5,000 by 20, not to mention the return on investment over those dollars. So we're not talking tens of thousands. We're talking potentially $100, $200 plus $1,000 in fee savings by understanding where we're actually at. Not to mention, what are we getting for those services, right?
Yes.
If we have such high fees just to own this particular mutual fund or ETF or whatever it may be, what's your advisor actually providing you service-wise for that, right? Because if they're charging you 2%, but they're not doing tax planning, they're not doing income planning, they're not looking at your health insurance and Medicare, you're paying someone else to do that, you're already committing $20,000 a year to just your fees, right? That's a big thing that we focus on. And last year, I think the highest fee I ran into was on a variable annuity, and they were paying north of 3.4%. Now, it wasn't $1 million, right? It was $200,000, but that's still a lot of money. And then in a variable annuity, the market's down, let's say it's down 10%, you're down 13.4 plus %, right? Because you're still paying those fees. So
I think that's huge, is what you said, is the value add. Just like anything, regardless if it's financial services that you're paying for or whatever that service is, does it make sense to pay for because of that value? And what I love about what we've created here at Matson Financial is we're fee-based. And so what that means is we don't have an annual fee. There's no trade fees when it comes to getting in of one portfolio or out of one and into another one. There's no advisory fee there. So we don't tack on to say, Jennifer, you called us 30 times to talk about Social Security questions or talk about your roof, or we met 4 times last year and we did a tax plan and we're going to continue to do one every year. And we looked at Social Security over and over again for 3 years in a row. It doesn't matter. That's what we're here for, is to be that sounding board. And I think about this with Tom and Terry. So they became clients of ours, maybe 5+ years ago, because I think time goes slower, but I think it's probably been longer than that. And what I loved about them is they were also listeners, and they said, we want to put our income plan to practice. And so what they actually did is we created a budget for them pre-retirement, and then they could practice, this is what the income they thought that they would need, and feel that change. And that was so fun to be a part of, because then we could make tweaks to it and say, hey, we can actually do more. Let's put some more lifestyle into this over here on this budget side of it. So that was one approach they took. But I think it's really important to make sure before you retire, you have a second opinion on your plan to make sure you're not missing anything before you walk out that door.
And I always tell my clients, call me, email me anytime. I'm not an attorney. I'm not going to bill you by the minute, right? You're paying me to manage these dollars, manage your overall finances. And so if you have anything even remotely financially related, pick up the phone. You're never a bother. I'm always willing to take that phone call. And that's what we're here to do, is to help those people. Now, I think that Tom and Terry example is a great lesson. And I think a lesson that a lot of people could put into practice is, I'm going to retire a year from now. So let's really hone in on our budget. It doesn't mean cut a bunch of costs, but let's figure out, for the first 3 months, how much are we actually spending? Okay. And then take a look at how much could we cut back on, or some of our expenses may go down when retirement's here, and put that into practice for another 3 months. That way, when we get to a year, there's no surprises. We've already built out that income plan. And this is one area of that plan that we can help with, which is how much are you paying? Besides that annual, advisor fee, whatever that percentage may be, are we paying commissions as well, right? So we're going to do that full analysis for you.
Real life lessons about your retirement. You're listening to the Money Mentors Podcast.
Here's why saving money this time of year is so important. Inflation's hovering just above 3% right now. And, things sound like they're getting better, but certain things are going up in price much more these days. USA Today says one of those examples is home insurance rates. Now, one study says prices there have climbed nearly 20% just over the last year. And even if we pay off the mortgage, say, in retirement, we still have to pay the insurance. We still have to pay property taxes, which are also going up big time. So how do we make sure that we can cover some of these rising costs, especially when we're looking at still some double-digit increases in spots?
I think the biggest thing is when it comes to that income plan that we're going to help you with is making sure that we build in a real cost of living adjustment. And that's across the board, right? There's going to be certain segments, let's say groceries are inflated more than utilities or whatever that is. We're going to have certain areas that inflate at a cost higher than others. But building in a very real cost of living adjustment into your income plan, and especially, factoring in things like taxes, simply home insurance, especially if your insurance and taxes are escrowed, seems to be one area where people don't focus a whole lot in. If it goes up a couple $100 a year, it may be only a couple dollars or $10 a month on your monthly mortgage payment, versus if you have your home paid off or you don't have those costs rolled into that monthly mortgage, not escrowed, that's a real bill that you're getting in the mail that you're then having to write that check for. We've seen it, I think, right here when we're looking, home insurance prices jumped 19%. I'm sorry, it went from 55% higher from 2019 to 2023. So in 2019, average was $1,100 a month. In 2023, $1,700 a month.
Mm-hmm. Boy.
And that continues to go up, and you layer in, property taxes and things like that. It's a real cost, and it's something that we need to make sure we build into our overall plan.
And as you get more toys and fun things or, boats and stuff like that, you're adding those on to your insurance policies, and that's going to increase. And I think people forget about those things.
Mm-hmm. And one thing people need to remember, too, is we need, especially if you're adding toys, boats, jet skis, and you're going to have the grandkids and their friends over, we need to make sure that we've got good liability coverage, right? That's one place we don't want to skimp on. And typically one of the more affordable areas in your home insurance premiums is that liability coverage, or getting a separate umbrella policy or something to make sure that you're truly protected.
Want weekly lessons from your money mentors? Yes. Hit the subscribe button now and listen every weekend on Wood Radio.
The opinions expressed in this program are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your financial advisor prior to investing. Any past performance discussed during this program is no guarantee of future results. Fee-based financial planning and investment services are offered by Matson Financial Services, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Insurance products and services offered through Lakeview Financial Group, LLC, Matson Financial Services, LLC, and Lakeview Financial Group are affiliated. To find out if Matson Financial Services is licensed in your state, please call 800-536-8907.